Hello, welcome to Aspire, an annual event by the Metropreneur where we recognize, celebrate, and honor those doing amazing things in the social enterprise community. My name's Ann Evans. I'm the co-founder of the Metropreneur, which celebrated 10 years this year of award-winning reporting. Aspire has been recognizing the social enterprise community for 8 years, but 2020 certainly changed things. We've seen businesses need to completely revamp their offerings by adding products, finding ways to support their team, shifting models, and for some, completely changing the way they operate. We thank you for supporting Aspire in this alternative format. Your support allows us to continue our important work. Going virtual has provided the opportunity for us to take a deeper look with our finalists, to take you on site, and to bring you a keynote interview where distance is not an issue. Those of us in the community have had to take a pause this year and really consider what makes our community special. We need to be sure to support those businesses so they continue to thrive. The COVID pandemic has brought many challenges that have needed to be overcome. ECDI has been a strong partner for helping businesses secure sustaining funding and grant dollars. Barnes & Thornburg has provided insightful information about the effects COVID is having on businesses and policies. And Social Ventures has developed several social impact boxes that you can purchase, providing a new stream of revenue and visibility to social enterprises. We'd like to thank ECDI, Barnes & Thornburg, and Social Ventures for sponsoring this year's Aspire. Next, we'll hear from Rebecca Dray, the Executive Director of Society Profits and Buy Social USA, who will discuss what it means to be a social enterprise. She'll be interviewed by Susan Post, editor of the Metropreneur.
A full-service national law firm seeking to bring a unique
passion and energy to the Ohio legal market.
Barnes & Thornburg proudly sponsors Aspire. We congratulate the award finalists,
all of whom have taken leaps to continue making an impact before, during, and after a global pandemic.
ECDI is dedicated to creating measurable and enduring social and economic change. We invest in people, connecting small business entrepreneurs with resources they need to achieve their dreams. We're proud to be a social enterprise since 2004, and we're now proud to offer the Social Enterprise Hub, an incubation program offering affordable, responsible loan capital, entrepreneur training, and access to a network of resources in accounting, HR, marketing, and more. We offer additional expertise for enterprises focused on job creation for vulnerable populations. Learn more about the resources we offer you and your social enterprise at ecdi.org.
Hello, I'm Susan Post, editor of the Metropreneur. Thanks for joining us as we virtually celebrate social enterprise at Aspire 2020. A main goal of Aspire is to build awareness around the social enterprise community in Central Ohio and beyond. And for our program this year, I'm excited to introduce Rebecca Dray, Executive Director of Society Profits. While Rebecca is based in Michigan, today she's going to share some valuable insights about what it means to be a social enterprise and how building awareness around the community can help shift purchasing power. We're also going to talk a little bit more about how you can find social enterprises to support not only here locally, but across the country and really the world even. So Rebecca, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Susan. You're welcome.
To kick things off, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and Society Profits?
Sure. So as you can tell by my accent, I'm not from Michigan. I'm from the UK, but I've lived in the States for 6 years. In the UK, I set up and ran 8 different social enterprise companies. They were certified social enterprises, which I think we'll talk about a little bit.
Definitely will, yeah.
And they also engaged in social procurement, but they were all businesses that were open to the public and focused on supporting people with barriers to employment.
So actually, as you mentioned, I want to backtrack here for a second. We've been doing this event for several years now, and we have our Social Enterprise of the Year awards, but there's always a lot of discussion and confusion about what it really means to be a social enterprise. And so as you mentioned, you've got a certification criteria. So can you kind of tell us your definition of social enterprise?
Sure. So when I moved to the States, I was quite surprised that there wasn't a definition of social enterprise. And the more I've been working in that space here, the more I've discovered that it's a complicated issue because of many different things. it's to do with the fact that there isn't actually a legal entity type for a social enterprise. So you could be any kind of business and be a social enterprise. And different states, you know, have different legal entity types. So for example, in some you could be an L3C, in others you could be a benefit corporation, you could be a 501c3, you could really be all kinds of different things. And so, you know, that was very unhelpful in terms of helping to define some of those, the definition of social enterprise that's used more globally. And so what I did when I started my first social enterprise here, which is called Society Profits, was I looked at certification for social enterprises as a means to have a definition and a set of values and principles that social enterprises could sign up to and say, yes, that is what we are. So that it would help with getting away from the fact that there wasn't really a national definition. So when we look at social enterprise, we use the definition that was published by the Social Enterprise World Forum. It's also the definition that's used in a lot of other countries that do social procurement and have big social enterprise movements. So the key criteria for us, first of all, and the most important probably, is that you're reinvesting, you're a business selling goods and services, but you're reinvesting more than 50% of your profit in a social or environmental impact, and sometimes both. So primarily you exist to create impact and benefit in the world, and you're dedicating more than half of your profit to that impact. Then secondly, that you have an asset lock around that mission. So you are not a company that is owned by a for-private profit entity. So, you know, the profit that's being made by your company isn't being siphoned off to a big corporate for them to say, aren't we doing some wonderful green things or some wonderful impact things, but actually we're making lots of money from that. It's really about making sure that your governance, your governing documents say that you will always, forever, be focused on using your profit for impact. Even if the company was sold, or if it was dissolved or anything like that, the money that was left would still go to impact rather than an individual.
You know, so you said more than 50% is used for some social impact or reinvested into social impact. How does that translate into a social enterprise that's providing career opportunities for individuals with barriers to employment?
So there's various different ways of running a social enterprise, which is why we focus more on the criteria than on the actual business that you're running. And I'll give you an example of some of the businesses that I ran in the UK that were social enterprises, and maybe that will help with seeing how some of those different business types work. So you could be a direct impact social enterprise. So that would be, for example, I run a sandwich shop, and the sandwich shop I run employs people who were previously incarcerated, and it helps them to get back into employment. I'm creating direct impact by running that business. Or I could be, as an example of a business in New York, I run a high-end sandwich shop in downtown New York. I use all the profit I make running that high-end sandwich shop to run another sandwich shop in a much poorer area that gives away really healthy but very affordable low-cost meals to local people. So that's an indirect impact, because really the income generating part of your business is the higher end sandwich shop making the profit, but it's using that money to create an indirect impact into people in another area. And some social enterprises in the States are hybrids. They maybe run a 501c3 that does impact work, but they also run a for-profit business that sells a good or a service and employs people. So for example, Rebel Nail in Detroit is an example of a social enterprise that employs women who have had barriers to employment. They make jewelry from fallen graffiti in Detroit. And Rebel Nail uses all of its profit is donated to its 501c3 called T, which provides the training and the education and support that the women need. So there are various ways of running it.
And I think we've got some great examples of both of those in
Yeah.
Central Ohio and in our finalists. For
Absolutely.
example, FORTUITY and some of our previous winners have that kind of direct impact model that primarily work with individuals that are for employment opportunities, and also do have a lot of for-profit businesses that are supporting the work of nonprofits. So definitely can see those business models here. So we've been talking about what a social enterprise is, but let's talk a little bit about what a social enterprise is not. And I think you were kind of mentioning some of this, namely thinking about B Corps and, just having some level of social corporate responsibility. So, kind of how do those differ from social enterprise?
What we like to talk about is having concentric circles of impact. So having this kind of core, pure social enterprise center, which is these businesses we just talked about that are reinvesting 50% or more. For many of them, it's more like 100% of profit into the impact. And then you go out and you've got these other rings of doing good in the world. And I would say that certified B Corps could fit anywhere within that sphere. And a lot of social enterprises that became B Corps, it was because there wasn't another certification that was specific to being a social enterprise. But the differences between a certified social enterprise and a certified B Corp, the main ones are around use of profit. So when you're a B Corp, you're not asked how much of your profit is used for the impact. So it could be 0.5%, or it could be 50%. You also can't be a not-for-profit organization. You can't be a 501c3 and get B Corp status. And also you're not asked to fully meet the criteria. So they do a point system, it's out of 200. If you can become a certified B Corp with 80 out of 200 points. For the certified social enterprises, you have to 100% meet that criteria. So we're looking at every aspect of what you do.
Well, as I understand it, B Corp even looks at things like, do you recycle? And, some of these things aren't necessarily about your business model.
Yeah, and those things are really important. And we look at those things too. We use the first step of the certification is actually getting people onto a platform called Good Market.
And we'll talk more about that for sure.
Okay. But they're looking specifically at a set of baseline principles around all of those things. How do you treat your employees? How do are you looking at making sure that the products you're using aren't harmful to the environment? Are you recycling? What else are you doing? So that's really important. But I think the social enterprise business model is hands down 100% focused on the impact piece. That's why it exists in the first place.
So now that we know a little bit about what a social enterprise is, another concept that you promote through Society Profits is the idea of social procurement. So tell us a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, so myself and two colleagues actually set up another impact organization called Buy Social USA. We set that up late last year. And it is a social procurement intermediary company. And what that means is basically corporates or government organizations, anchor institutions, any business who wants to buy from social enterprises. A lot of those big organizations, they're not going to spend the time vetting all of the different suppliers. They're basically going to have one RFP, purchasing process where they put out a bid process and people can log in and say, right, okay, I want to apply for this contract. Social procurement is actually helping those companies to specifically buy from social enterprises and showing them the additional benefit that's made when you do that. So the impact of social procurement as opposed to any other kind of procurement is huge. It saves taxpayers money, it reinvests huge amounts of money in local support initiatives. So it's really important.
Well, that was actually one of my questions is, what kind of impact could we really see if more companies and individuals were using their purchasing power to support social enterprise first?
The research, there's very little research in the US. That's the first place to start with that, because it hasn't really existed here. And funnily enough, one of the reasons it hadn't existed was because of lack of definition and lack of certification. So when you look at some of these big social procurement buying organizations that are doing social procurement around the world, so organizations like SAP, the software company, there are many Microsoft does a lot of social procurement. It doesn't do a lot in the US. And that was one of the barriers, was they weren't going to spend their time trying to work out what is or is not a social enterprise here.
Okay.
So that brought about the reason for having BiSocial USA. And so BiSocial USA specifically works between buyer and seller. So we're actually starting in 5 pilot states, and Ohio is one of them. Yeah, which is why we're connected to lots of organizations in the Ohio area. And what we're doing in Michigan, Ohio, Minnesota, Florida, and California, we're working with local support organizations like Social Ventures and others, Social Enterprise Alliance, chapters, people like that. And we're helping them to work with their members, their social enterprise members, to get them into our seller database. We make all of that free for the social enterprises because we don't want it to be, have any cost to them for doing that. So, and then we work with the buyer to help them source the different suppliers that they might want to buy from.
And I think you're kind of touching on this as far as connecting with those organizations, but how can we help shift companies and even individuals to this mindset to think about social enterprise first when making a purchase?
If we had research, it would be amazing, but we don't have a lot of research right now. So we have to look at historical data that's come out of other countries. There was a really interesting report that came out of Canada that showed that for every $100 a company spent with a social enterprise, there was $450 worth of impact reinvested in that local community. That's huge, But the other thing to look at is companies talk about CSR or corporate social responsibility. The amount that they spend on that is roughly about 15 billion a year, something like that. The amount spent on goods and services in the US is more like 37 trillion. So it's a huge amount of money. And it's actually just doing something you do anyway. You buy goods and services anyway. So buying them from an organization that would create that local economic multiplier and the reinvestment in local impact, to me, it's something that every company should be doing. It's straightforward and simple. It doesn't cost more. That's a myth. It doesn't cost more. You don't get less good quality. All of the research shows that is not the case. And also for a lot of companies, it actually helps them to attract and retain top talent. Because particularly the younger generation, they are looking at these companies and they're saying, what are you doing? We are in a time of social and racial justice issues being in our face every single day. And consumers are voting with their dollar and saying, I don't want to buy from you if you're not giving back and creating impact. So that's one of the best ways they can do that.
And I think we've definitely seen that awareness grow since we've been doing this, and more social enterprises pop up every year. And I think people get really excited when they learn about that extra impact that these businesses are making. And locally, Social Ventures has its marketplace on its website that has a great curation of the social enterprises to support in and around Central Ohio. But this is something we talked about, and this I think we'll get into good market. So what about social enterprises outside of the area? How can folks find more impact businesses to support?
So the thing I find in the States that's because of all of the things that we already talked about, and just because of the nature of the US, I think there tends to be a lot of amazing things happening, and they're all happening in isolation of each other. There is no one place that you can go to and say, show me all the social enterprises in the US. Doesn't exist. So we have to help create that. And the way to do it is not to replicate all of the amazing things that organizations like Social Ventures are doing. It's just to give them a central place that they can bring that information. And this is where Good Market comes in. So what we do with Good Market is an organization like Social Ventures, it can go on the Good Market platform and they set up a network. Then they contact all of the social enterprises that they work with and they say, hey, join this network, set up your profile. So the social enterprise sellers sign up to Good Market as well. And when it asks them if they would like to be part of a network, they say, yes, I want to be part of the Social Ventures network. And basically what it does is it means that anywhere in the world, you could log into Good Market and you can see all of the social enterprises that are in that area, but they've all been vetted first. So they all had to meet those minimum standards to be on there. Because let's face it, there's no business out there that's going to say that they don't do good in the world. So, but this makes sure that you meet those criteria. And you can actually also use it as your first step to being certified if you're not a certified social enterprise.
So could a social enterprise go in and sign up themselves, or do they need to come in through a network? How would that work?
Yep, and any social enterprise can log on and sign up at any time. So their website is goodmarket.global. And interestingly, it was originally set up in Sri Lanka, but founded by a lady who is from Michigan. So yeah, so she's now back in the States and helping to develop out the platform here. But they started it in Sri Lanka after civil unrest and all kinds of economic and climate disaster, as a way of giving a physical marketplace originally to social enterprises, and with a view to always it being an online marketplace.
I was checking it out a little bit and saw that there are a lot of businesses from around the world, and it's pretty heavily populated. There's a lot of cool things on there. So can people buy like directly through these companies' websites, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so at the moment, the way to purchase would be by contacting the social enterprise, but actually Good Market has been working with SAP and others, and they are building out their software so that it could actually become that you can literally buy straight from the Good Market site. Yeah. So, and they're actually doing that as a way of, it's going to be like a Amazon for Good, where you could basically purchase direct from there, but it could also support those network organizations as well through revenue sharing and things like that.
And how soon will that be launching?
Before the end of the year. So yeah, not long at all. We're hoping end of October, maybe November time.
Exciting. Just in time for holiday shopping, right?
Just in time.
To kind of bring things together with our awards, this year we created a new award called the Social Enterprise Coronavirus Pivot Award to recognize businesses that really had to make a major pivot in their business model, or, kind of create some new product or service to find a way to continue to make an impact. We had some other finalists that have really stepped up to the plate to help nonprofits with immediate community needs, or just found ways to continue operating during all of this. I think our group of finalists really highlight the power of social enterprise and the important role that they play in society. So how can social enterprises really capitalize on this moment and continue to bring awareness to this different way of doing business?
What we need in the States, we need stories. We really need social enterprises to self-identify as such and to start telling the story of what they're doing, because they make amazing change in their communities and for people all over the country and the world many times. And also I would say that social enterprises are very nimble. They tend to be good at pivoting. I've done lots of interviews with social enterprises since COVID hit. Many of them have just been so innovative in the way in which they've pivoted their business to try and do something different to help their community, because they were already helping their community.
That's what they want to do.
Yeah, it's in their DNA to do that. So they have pivoted to offer alternative services, use their staffing differently, do all kinds of amazing, innovative things because that's what social entrepreneurs are, so they're looking for those different ways that they can do that. But we need to be telling the story about it, because that would help consumers to understand why they should be purchasing from social enterprises and how to do so.
Well, if you guys stay tuned, you're going to hear 6 great stories from our finalists this year, and their businesses and how they make an impact. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us and shedding some more light on these concepts, and sharing with everyone how you can really support social enterprise. We really, really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome, and congratulations to all of the finalists.
Thanks for joining us for Aspire 2020, and thank you again to Rebecca for sharing more about the concepts of social enterprise and social procurement. Now it's time for our Social Enterprise of the Year Awards. This year, more than ever, we've seen the critical role that socially conscious businesses play in the community, from employment opportunities to bringing volunteers together to address immediate community needs. Recognizing the extraordinary position that all business owners have found themselves in this year, we've adjusted the awards for our 8th annual event. We'll hand out 2 awards this year, the Social Enterprise of the Year Award and the Social Enterprise Coronavirus Pivot Award. Selecting the finalists and the winners for the Social Enterprise of the Year Awards is never an easy task. After fielding nominations from the public, a number of enterprises in each category were invited to fill out an application detailing their business model and measured impact. With our partners at Social Ventures, we had the difficult job of narrowing the field down to 3 finalists in each category. Then, a great panel of judges, including past award winners and members of the business community, reviewed those applications to determine our winners. A special thanks goes out to Social Ventures for presenting the awards with us and our judges. Alan Proctor, President and CEO of Social Ventures; Walker Evans, co-founder of the Metropreneur and Columbus Underground; Lisa Cordes, President and CEO of United Way of Central Ohio; Dwight Smith, CEO of Sophisticated Systems; and Paula Haynes, Executive Director of Freedom a la carte and the winner of last year's Social Enterprise of the Year Award. Before we hand out the first award, we will hear from Alan Proctor with Social Ventures. Alan and Social Ventures are such a big part of why Columbus has a strong social enterprise community and why we are able to do things like have these awards. Thank you again for joining us.
Hello, I'm Alan Proctor, President and CEO of Social Ventures. Social Ventures was formed 6 years ago to foster and grow social enterprise in our community. Our goal is to have informed consumers that buy social, smart entrepreneurs who seek expertise, and dedicated investors who want their money to create financial and social return. We believe that this awards program is an important way to demonstrate to the community that social enterprises are innovative, passionate, and successful businesses. Each of the finalists tonight show all 3 clearly. We hope that everyone that watches this program will be inspired to support social enterprise in their own way. Buy social, be a mentor, invest. The magic of social enterprise is that when you buy from a social enterprise, you are creating impact and chipping away at the social and economic divide that we have become so aware of during this pandemic. Social Ventures is playing a small part by making it easy for you to buy from social enterprises at SOCIALVENTURES.SHOP. And one lucky ticket buyer at this event will win a Social Ventures Impact Box full of an assortment of products by social enterprise that all will create impact.
Hi, I'm Molly Tefrate, Vice President of Social Ventures. New this year is the Social Enterprise Coronavirus Pivot Award. 2020 has brought challenges to all of us, and social enterprises have been hit especially hard. They must not only struggle to survive in a world shut down by a pandemic, but they also continue to focus on their mission and the individuals that they serve. Through pivots in product, consumer, and employee responsibilities, the finalists in this category have responded to the challenges in their own way and have continued to serve the community.
We will now hear directly from the finalists about their COVID response and how it impacted their social enterprise. First, let's hear from LA Catering.
So LA Catering started in 2002, and all of the proceeds from catering go back into feeding, funds for feeding the seniors of Central Ohio for our Meals on Wheels program. So it's grown and grown and grown, and we are excited about our growth. Last year we hit over $1 million in sales. So we're very, very excited about the future, despite the pandemic right now.
So as a catering operation, your business was greatly impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. I mean, events all but dried up. Right. So how were you able to quickly pivot the staff from LA Catering over to help Life Care Alliance and further support that mission?
So what happened is the Meals on Wheels and funding slowly but got increased. So this started in March. By April, we were getting monies from the federal government, state, city, a lot of grants, and a lot of things came our way, and we were able to start feeding more people in need who couldn't get out in the community. So our business has increased over 60% for frozen meals. So what happened then is we found a niche for our catering workers to go into the meals operations and much needed to go in and help her get those meals out the door.
So tell us a little bit about how LA Catering measures its social impact, and how your impact on Life Care Alliance has continued to grow over the last few years.
So the profits from LA Catering is estimated that we fund over 500 clients a year for meal services. So that's very rewarding for our catering staff, and to be able to have that funding that we provide, from our proceeds from catering to go to Meals on Wheels.
Next, let's learn more about Roosevelt Coffee House and Roaster.
This was kind of a birth out of not for sure what I wanted to do with a phase of my life that I felt compelled to move into something that had a different kind of impact as opposed to what I was doing before, which had impact. So eventually, a long story short, it became let's do a nonprofit coffee house that funds organizations fighting the injustices of hunger, unclean water, and human trafficking.
So tell us more about the program that you developed to support healthcare workers and, of course, keep them caffeinated, during this pandemic.
So what we did is we got it with our web developer, and we just shot up, for every bag of coffee you buy, we're going to donate one. So that meant, like, if you bought a bag of coffee, we were going to create a batch where we would start to donate one on your behalf or from your purchase.
And how many bags were you able to donate?
Yeah, I wrote that down. So so we actually donated 1,798 bags. Wow. Which was a retail of like $18,000 worth of bags. And it was really cool because some people, like we had a couple corporate people, a couple churches who would just buy like 20 bags.
Oh, that's
so
great.
It would go somewhere.
Yeah. Roosevelt has really become a place for the community to connect and, put other projects that do end up having and creating a lot of social impact in motion.
Yes.
So what does it mean to you to be that community space where that happens?
Well, it means everything. At the same time, it's a hell of a thing to build a business on community and then have a pandemic hit.
Right.
So that's been a real wrestle for me the last few months, just kind of so we've had to, as you said, pivot. But the blessing is, I think you kind of communicated in your question, is the community had already been built, and our ability to pivot and get people to recognize that, and our social media platform to be able to communicate that has progressed into something different, and it's working.
Now we'll hear from our final nominee, Zero Waste Event Productions.
Zero Waste Event Productions provides waste management and cleaning services for events and festivals, mostly outdoor music festivals, but we do some races and some other things as well. And we sort through all of the material generated and separate compost and recycling and reusable items.
So when the pandemic hit, you kind of had the choice to either put things on hold until 2021 or pivot. So how did the pandemic actually create an opportunity for you to explore a new avenue that complements what Zero Waste is already doing?
Yeah, we actually we've kind of had this idea on the back burner for a few years now. to try to do some kind of small-scale plastics manufacturing. Early this year, we purchased an injection molding machine, and we have a shredder that we built, and we started shredding plastics. We realized this is also an opportunity that we can, try to help make some PPE, face shields and hands-free door openers to help slow the spread of the virus in our own community.
So how will diversifying zero waste offerings and venturing into small scale plastics manufacturing actually kind of help you create some more stability for your social enterprise?
One of our challenges has been that events really only happen through like late spring through early fall each year. So it's been a pretty big challenge to try to generate enough income during a short season to really support our operation year round. So we're really hoping that having this second stream of income doing this small scale plastics manufacturing will kind of subsidize our work and give us more to do in the off season, but also, really broaden the base of our income to support us throughout the year.
All finalists in this category demonstrated a focus on their mission in the faces of challenges, but the judges were specifically impressed with the sustainable model that will last beyond the pandemic. And the Social Enterprise Coronavirus Pivot Award goes to Zero Waste Event Productions.
In our next award, Life-Changing Employment Opportunities, Making Homes Safe and Habitable, Supporting Impact Through Volunteer Opportunities. These are some of the ways this year's finalists for the Social Enterprise of the Year are making a difference. The organizations in this category represent local social enterprises that have been operational for over a year and demonstrate a meaningful and well-documented social impact, and have been influential in advancing the reputation and acceptance of social enterprise as a way to do business in Central Ohio. This year, we will hear directly from our 3 finalists about their operations and impact. First, let's hear from BESA.
So we're at a volunteer event right now. You'll see some people milling about in the background, but I want to talk to you a little bit more about BESA and your mission.
So BESA's mission is all about inspiring civic engagement, primarily through volunteerism. How do we get more people connected to the community in powerful ways, like we're doing here tonight, supporting a food pantry. We work with tens of thousands of volunteers who give back over 100,000 hours, and we also work with companies in the community to help them inspire service, managing their volunteer and philanthropy programs, helping them manage their programs as well. They pay us for that service, which then helps us, fuels our work so we can do more of this type of work across the community.
So the coronavirus pandemic really created a lot of critical and immediate needs in the community.
Yes.
So how has BESA been able to help close that gap and assist nonprofits in meeting these increased and urgent demands?
So Susan, we're at a pantry, and pantries across this country have had to shutter, close their doors because they don't have the volunteer capacity. A lot of pantries are managed by older demographics, senior citizens. And so BESA's working to counter that in Columbus by getting young, healthy volunteers to the front line. Since the governor's stay-at-home order, we've gotten over 3,000 volunteers to the front line.
So how have you seen the demand for BESA and BESA Promise continue to grow over the last few years?
Great question. Demand has definitely increased a lot because people want easy ways to connect with their community and fulfilling ways. Yeah.
You've rallied over 50,000 volunteers, you've organized 8,500 plus service projects, and that totals about 22 million in impact. But what are some of those really individual personal stories that make you say this is why I do this?
We had a volunteer who had never volunteered the first week of the stay-at-home order. She came out, volunteered, had such a great time. She's volunteered 22 times since.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
So it's those types of stories that fuel me, and inspire the work that my team and BESA is all about.
Next, let's learn more about Fortuity Calling.
Well, first, can you tell us a little bit more about the mission of Fortuity and how you're creating job opportunities here in Franklinton?
Sure. So one of our foundational notions was let's make a macroeconomic impact in one neighborhood. We run a very professional corporate outsourced call center. We do work for large, medium, and small companies. We do inbound customer service. We do outbound servicing and sales and tech support.
You know, so Fortuity had only been taking client calls for a few weeks when the coronavirus struck. So what was it like taking that on as such a new business, and how did you adjust to continue serving, you know, not only Fortuity's clients, but your employees? Right.
So actually, a whole week before, even before the governor made the order, we sent everybody home on a Monday with an extra set of hardware. We had everybody plug it in. By 8 o'clock that night, everyone had tested out but one person. By 10 o'clock, they had all tested. So we said, okay, let's test it for real. Everybody stay home tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then we said, everybody stay home the second day.
Yeah.
And it all worked great. We worked from home for 10 weeks. Running a production call center from our agents' kitchens, from their kitchen tables.
You know, so how will Fortuity measure its social impact, and you know, what are your goals for how a career of Fortuity is going to change, how it's going to change a person's life?
There are opportunities to bring people in at entry-level positions who need to learn more skills so that they can earn more money. And then over time, we invest in them, they invest in themselves, and we can typically move somebody's household income 30 or 40% in a couple of years.
And finally, now we'll hear from our last finalist, Mod Squad.
Mod Squad is a one-stop handyman service, and we serve homeowners throughout Franklin County. What's really neat about this program is that 100% of the proceeds from those services go to support our Safe at Home program.
So what kind of services does Mod Squad provide to homeowners?
Really just about anything. We're getting ready to start a big bathroom remodel next week.
Okay.
But we do simple things, hang TVs, put in handrails, make repairs inside and outside your home. So basically anything that's home maintenance and repair that doesn't require a permit.
Another community resource that MODCON Living offers is its tool library. So tell us more about what we'll find there.
So the tool library is actually the first tool library ever in our nation. And we have over 4,000 tools, either hand tools or power tools. And it's available through membership to anyone that lives, works, or worships in Franklin County. And for a small membership fee, you can come back and borrow as many tools as you would like, as often as you like throughout the year.
Great. So through Mod Squad services, how many Save-at-Home clients have you been able to support?
Well, since inception, our organization has served over 1,800 homeowners. Since we began Mod Squad, we've been able to increase the number of homeowners per year that we serve from right around 100 to about 150.
Great.
So it's made a huge impact so that we can serve more people more effectively.
As you've seen, all the finalists tonight are tremendous ambassadors for social enterprise and provide meaningful, well-documented information about their impact. The candidates for this year's award were among the strongest the judges have seen, and this made their decision especially difficult. In choosing this year's awardee, the judges saw a proven business model that uses its services to leverage others to create even more impact. This social enterprise continues to inspire individuals and companies to step up to address the range of needs in our community that remain unmet. The Social Enterprise of the Year Award for 2020 is BESA.
Hi, I'm Walker Evans, the co-founder of the Metropreneur. I just wanted to say thanks for joining us for this year's online Aspire Awards. I also want to thank our sponsors again, Barnes & Thornburg, ECDI, and Social Ventures, as well as the donations and contributions that our viewers have made. All collectively, your contributions help fund award-winning local journalism at the Metropreneur, so we really appreciate it. We hope to see you all again at Aspire in person in 2021. And as always, for ongoing news, information, and entrepreneurial events, you can visit themetropreneur.com. Thanks.